So we are actually in the absolute middle of the Bhakti chapters. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12 are the Bhakti chapters. So we are right in the middle. Chapter 9 sections. We have finished 9.1 and 9.2, establish the basic introduction to this chapter. And Aishwarya Jnana, which we are going to be discussing today, is very, very unique and special. It is an understanding of how amazing it is to understand Krishna. In fact, you can't understand Krishna. That's why it's called Achintya, which means unperceivable, someone who cannot be perceived. And he's Bhed Abhed. He is different, at the same time he's non-different, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. We are non-different, at the same time we can't say that we are God, so we are different as well. So it is an achintya, imperceivable sort of concept it is. And it bhed and abhed, it involves both. So, and we also look at about the relationship with the material world is understood very beautifully in these verses from 9.4 to 9.10. If you really keep studying and meditating on these verses, you will be able to understand, all of us will be able to understand the relationship that Krishna has with the material world. It is very clearly given, but we require to keep thinking of it and remember it, because it is not easy. It is imperceivable. Achintya it is. We will look at non-worshippers and worshippers again. And then from 16 to 25th verse of chapter 9, we will look at how Krishna is the supreme object of worship and how the glories are. The Krishna talks about how to directly worship him. So this is what we'll be seeing. Okay, I think we were at the beginning of the slide. Sorry. These were yesterday's verses, chapter 8, and we finished the beginning texts 1 and 2. And we looked at it should be free from envy, and we looked at the 9 types of bhakti, and we also studied a lot of lectures from text 1 and text 2 yesterday. And today, as we go to text 3, before I begin, let me offer my humble obeisances to the beautiful deities of Sri Radha Govinda Temple and Srila Prabhupada, his disciple Jayapataka Swami Guru Maharaj, His Holiness, and Temple President His Grace Namnishtha Das Prabhu, and my teacher Aishwarya Mataji. नम ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन इति नामने नामस्य सारस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेषाय शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे ओम अज्ञान तिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानांजन शलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपे कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्री गुरु श्री युतपदकमलं श्री गुरु वैष्णवं च श्री रूपं सागरजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं सादैवतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादं सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितं च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांते नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे. So those were the sections which I just described. Let's go to verse 9.3 today. 9.3 goes like this. Ashraddhanaah purusha dharmasyasya parantapa aprapya manivartante mrityu sansara vartmani. So in this verse, Krishna is saying that those who are not faithful on the path of devotional service cannot attain me, O conqueror of foes, but return to birth and death in this material world. So Krishna is referring to Arjuna as one who can conquer foes. So if the foe is not being faithful, you can conquer the foe of unfaithfulness. Of course, Arjuna has no chance. He's a very, very highly elevated devotee. So we are saying, we're looking at the idea that faith is very much necessary for one to not return to this world of birth and death. If you don't have faith, of course, there's no chance of getting that state of liberation. So faithless people cannot attain. So what do we look over here? We can the text 3 is telling us that faith is the most important factor in the progress of Krishna consciousness. So there's a definition of faith. Simply by serving Krishna, one can achieve all perfection. You water the tree or the root of a tree, and the whole tree is nourished. How is faith created? You need to associate with devotees. So the moment you keep on your extending your association, and you keep associating with non-devotees, the chances of fall are very, very high. In fact, progress becomes stopped. It's very important sadhu sangha, and so somehow you must try to get association of devotees. No good faith and knowledge of scriptures easily fall down, though engaged in what is that, deity service, DS. One cannot achieve highest perfectional stage coming to Krishna consciousness with hidden motives. So you can't come to Krishna consciousness when you have some material desire left. So it is the initial, this is the third level, is the lowest. In the lowest level, there is not much faith, there is not much knowledge of scriptures. Chances of falling down are very, very high. And the chances of coming to Krishna consciousness also is mostly with hidden motives. The second stage of firm faith is, it's not very advanced, but then there is some faith in the scriptures, and someone simply tries to associate with the devotees, and he's a very simple person. The third stage and the highest, the first level is the highest stage, when you have firm faith that Krishna is there, and he is going to, he is a controller, supreme controller. The complete faith is there in Krishna, and he's very well versed in scripture. So that is the highest stage, when you're also not just plain love, but you're also backed by knowing the scriptures. So there is no chance of fall down when you reach the highest stage. So development of that faith is called Krishna consciousness, and it is the most important factor to understand the Bhagwan feature, or the highest feature of Krishna. So we are going to be looking at these verses now, 9.4 to 9.10, about Krishna's Achintya Bheda Bhed relationship with the material world, and we will understand about the Aishwarya Jnana. Therefore, that this Jnana is very majestic. So Krishna pervades, creates, annihilates the whole cosmos through his material energy. Although Krishna is supreme director, the material world nevertheless moves independently. Krishna thus remains neutral and detached. So this concept one needs to understand from these verses. It's not like Krishna has to actively look at everything happening. He doesn't need to do that. He is so powerful. The way he sets things rolling, everything happens, as per his control. It doesn't mean that it's not under his control. Everything is in his control, but it's not like he has to in detail go. Everything happens in the material world independently as per the cause and result, and it follows, things just happen. Krishna as a person, the person of Krishna, he remains neutral and detached. He has set the rules, he has set the ball rolling, things are happening, he has established the material world, it's his own energy, and he knows everything that's happening. Nothing happens without his knowledge or without his will also. So this understanding this beautiful concept is tough, and that is what we are trying to look at in these chapters. So in 9.4, Krishna is saying, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matsthani sarvabhutani nachaham teshvavasthitah. This is very, very important to understand. He says in this verse, Maya tatamidam sarvam, by me in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. So here actually I have taken the lectures from Srila Prabhupada, because he explained this concept very nicely. If we go through this, we understand this verse so well. So in this verse, there's a distinct explanation of both impersonalism and personalism. Actually, there cannot be an impersonal idea, because here Krishna is saying Avyakta, and then he says Murdana. So Avyakta is like non-manifested. Sorry. But then it is also murti, which is a form. Therefore, we conceive impersonalism, voidism, Voidism is like a sky, and the sky is as if it is a zero, it is a void. But the sky also does have a form. We see the big round form, the horizon, and it's not like it is, you can't say it's formless. So there cannot be basically anything without a form, some sort of form. Therefore, Krishna actually is saying, I'm the Avyakta Murtina. Although it is non manifested, still it has a form. But one who does not take the real form, takes to the imaginary form, that has been, is now going to be explained. Kleshodikaras avyaktasakta chetasam. So those who are attached to impersonal form, they are taking unnecessarily trouble. Klesha dhikatara. The word klesha is showing that when you're attached to the impersonal form, you have to be undergoing a lot. It's very klesha, it's full of klesha, it's difficult. So of course, to understand the form of the Lord, it's not a very easy thing. It requires intelligence. Intelligence and also kind of tapasya, because Krishna will grant you the wisdom to understand him only when we engage in tapasya. If you're not engaging in tapasya, it doesn't happen. Without tapasya, you cannot understand the Satchidananda Vigraha form of the Lord as given in the Brahma Samhita 5.1. So generally we take it for granted that form means like me. The moment we say form, it has to be exactly like me. So Krishna is saying, he says later, as we will see today only, hopefully, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayakshi Tadaham Ashnami. He says that if you offer me, I eat. Ashnami means I will eat that. But the atheists or people who can't understand Krishna, they be, what? Eat? Eat? It's not eaten, it's just over there. And they can't see that Krishna is eating. They say that you offer something to Krishna, but he is not eaten. So they don't know that Krishna eats. That's because they have a poor fund of knowledge. They think that eating has to be just like how we are eating. Although Krishna is a person, it doesn't mean that he's a material body like us. He has a transcendental body. We have to learn how Krishna can eat. Krishna can eat simply by seeing. In fact, Krishna will impregnate the whole material world simply by looking, by his glance. He doesn't need to have all the different organs to do different parts. All his parts can do, all the indriyas, different parts of the body, limbs, they're as good as any other. So he can eat. Krishna can eat just like we are eating through the mouth, but he can even eat just by looking because he's absolute. So, we have got this distinction and we are not able to understand, therefore, that Krishna is transcendental. Like how we have eyes, hands, mouth, each one is doing a different function. There's a distinction which is called Sagata Vive. So, we have got a difference of body between yourself and myself. In the body also, there are differences. Eyes are different from one person's hands are different and the functions are different, but Krishna, he is absolute. That's why we give this session the name of Aishwarya Jnana and Achintya Bheda Bhed, because difficult to understand. So therefore the people who don't believe in Krishna, they cannot imagine how Krishna can have a form, and they say if he has a form, and then they start comparing with their own form, which makes no sense because he is God. So this is defined by Krishna. Krishna tells us in 9.11, as we will see, he says that avajananti ma mudha manushim ashritam. Because I have come, I'm here on this earth as human being. I'm here as if I'm one with you. People take me as a human being only. So Krishna comes as a child of Yashodama, as a son of Vasudeva, and therefore Mayavadis mistake Krishna as if the Brahman has taken the form of Krishna. Ravi Prabhu has posted the attendance. Kindly fill the attendance. So Krishna is not under Maya. Krishna says, Sambhavami Atma Maya, not accepting this material order. He's ordering Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, right? He says, I keep appearing. So Srila Prabhupada uses the word rascal for such scholars who don't accept that Krishna is the supreme God who simply appears. It's not that he takes birth for the first time, the Brahman becomes into the form of a baby. It's not like that. Mayavadis think it's like that. They think Krishna and Krishna's body are different. As we are spirit soul, we are different from the body. Because Mayavadis think that Krishna also has a one body. He's just taken and then they're not able to understand how the the great devotees have explained. And several times it has been discussed, when Krishna says in 9th chapter, Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru, he translates this but comments it's not Krishna the person. How does a Mayavadi translate that verse? He says that he's not saying that Manmana bhava madbhakto is not to Krishna. He says that the Mayavadi will say that the verse is saying that you have to be, dedicated Manmana to the Supreme Brahman within Krishna, not to Krishna. Krishna is just, some soul who has taken up the body of Krishna. You have to, focus on that Brahman. That's because they don't see the difference between Krishna and the soul. They think Krishna is also just one person with the soul, and we are also similarly, and we can also become yogis and Krishnas. So that they are very, very confused. So the Mayavadi does not know that Krishna has no such difference between his body and his soul. He is Para Brahman. The body of Krishna is transcendental. He has no difference as between soul and body like us. He is complete spiritual body, Sachidananda Vigraha. So there cannot be difference between Krishna and Krishna's soul because there is no such thing. But there are scholars, they don't understand and they have the audacity to write comments. They don't know the real, the concept behind the Bhagavad Gita, and then they will make all impudent remarks. So Krishna says it is meant for you, Arjuna, because you are my devotee. He says in verse 4.3, Bhaktosi priyosi me. You are so dear to me. No one can understand unless you are dear to Krishna, unless you love Krishna, the God, and you become a bhakta. You can't understand the Gita. So because that is the first step. Krishna is saying, to Arjuna, because you love me, you're my devotee, priyosi me, and you're dear to me. You have to first become dear to the Lord and you have to become a devotee. Then you can actually understand. Touch the Bhagavad Gita means then you can start relishing what is the message of the Lord for us. Of course, there are so many, different ways. Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Karma Yoga. All these ways are there. But we cannot, the ultimate yoga comes only from bhakti. So Krishna says that the most confidential part, I'm giving it to you. Why? Because you are my dear friend. Sarva guhyatamam, right? He says that in the beginning of the chapter. Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam raja, he says in 18.66. So he is telling us that we have to, actually become that pure devotee first. We must have faith. And in 9.5 and 6, Krishna will say, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. So this is where we are trying to understand the Aishwarya Jnana in these verses. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am present everywhere, still myself is a very source of creation. As a mighty wind blowing everywhere, always rests in space. Similarly, everything rests in me. And then he goes on to say, so in these verses, Krishna said in the previous verse, Matsthani sarva bhutani na chaham teshvavasthita. So that is explained now in this verse. Everything is resting upon me, but at the same time, nacha matsthani bhutani. They're not also in me. So this portion has to be understood. When Krishna is saying that that everything is resting upon him, he means that everything is resting upon his expanded energy, not personally on him. Personally, he's aloof. He says, Nacha matsthani bhutani. The same example is, like everything is resting on the sunshine. That means everything is happening because of the energy of the sun. But that doesn't mean that everything is sitting on the sun. The sunshine is actually not different from the sun. It's coming from the sun. So you can say that way that the expanded form, everything is resting on the sun. But you need to understand the analogy. Nothing can exist without God. Nothing is there except God. But still, everything is not God. So it's very difficult to understand. That is why it is called Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. Simultaneously one and different. So the conclusion of the Mayavadi philosophy or impersonalists are, if God has expanded in everything, then how can you say that a personal existence of God exists? So this verse is actually saying, yes, it exists. Mayavadi philosophy is that, but that is not the fact. Srila Prabhupada is telling us, fact is that although God is person, he is a person. He's like you are a person, I am a person. He has emotion. He's a person with the complete emotions and the reciprocation. He has that. He's a person, he's a supreme person. That's the difference. He's not exactly like we with material bodies. And he expands by his energy. So this concept has to be understood. God is expanded by his energies, is what Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us. Sarvedam Akhilam Jagat. The spiritual world means that his spiritual energy is expanded, and when his material energy is expanded, both of them are God's energies. Now, just like Srila Prabhupada is explaining, I will give you again the same example of the government. He has explained this before. For example, the government, you can say that there's so many departments. There's a university department, there's an education department, a jail department. The jail department is also run by the government. It is not that the government is not taking care of the jail. Rather, government, in fact, the more money spent to take care of the jail, more than the government even spends on the education department. So both are government concerns, but one department, difference is that is full of criminals, and the other department is full of learned scholars. This is kind of just a rough analogy Srila Prabhupada has given us to help us understand. And he says, try to understand. Don't think that the material world is out of control of God. Just because in this verse, Krishna says that, I am neutral. It doesn't mean that it is not in his control. The jail also is very much under the control of the government. So that is the difference. Material world is spiritual. Material world is full of criminals who are against God, who is defying the authority of God, who is saying there is no God, who are envious. But spiritual world are those who accept the supremacy. They are peaceful, they're cooperative, they are in harmony, they are doing what Krishna wants, they have no other personal desire, they know what is their constitutional position. So that is the difference. So this is very beautifully explained by Srila Prabhupada here. So what we are going to see is in the text 5, living entities do not rest upon Krishna. Yoga Aishwaram. Inconceivable mystic opulences of the Lord is what we are trying to see in this verse here. 9.5. Everything that is created does not rest on me implies although everything rests in Krishna, still Krishna is aloof and not directly concerned with all the maintenance, Not like Atlas, who is tired of holding the globe. He doesn't have to do it actually himself, although he has perfect and full control, and he does come for the devotees. He reciprocates by becoming the devotee of the devotee. He is aloof. Examples of inconceivable opulences are there, and he is avyayam, which means eternally everlasting. So how is God situated? Krishna is explaining. Nacha matsthani bhutani pashame yogam aishwaram. So aishwaram, right? What is aishwaram? Supremacy. How supreme is the Lord? Everything is resting on Krishna. Still, everything is without him because he doesn't, the maintenance, the way he has set it is it takes place on its own. That is very easy to understand that we cannot exist without God's mercy. This potency is life. Try to understand what is life. We have a material body, which means made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the gross body. And we have a subtle body, mind, intelligence, and ego. And what are we? We are in the body. Therefore, what is this? These energies are Krishna's energy, and we are situated in the inferior material energy of the Lord, and we are using it. And we are ourselves also energy. We are the marginal energy, not yet superior energy, simply because we are yet, we may go this way or that way. So although we are situated in God's energy, we are forgetful of our position, and therefore Krishna says, Matsthani Sarva Bhutani. He says that everything is existing on my energy. Still, I'm not there. Why I'm not there? Because the living entity has forgotten and has not understood Krishna. He is within Krishna's energy, Krishna's material power or energy, and he's not understanding Krishna. So he's not there. That's also a way of explaining given by Srila Prabhupada, so we can understand this verse. So another person, Nacha Matsthani Bhutani Pashame Yogam Bhuta Bhrin Nacha Bhutastha. So Bhuta Bhrit, he is maintaining everyone, but that does not mean he is one of them. He is also being maintained. That's a mistake. Some people will think that, oh, just because, like God has come into the jail, now God is also actually a jailer. He is also trapped in this karma, cycle of karma. No, he's above all that. It's not that he's come and the Brahman, comes and then takes a form of a human being as Krishna, and then he is bound by karma, and he is also, under modes. Not at all. So they don't see that he is a supreme Lord. He is eternal. We are also eternal. The difference is we are plural. We are so many, living entities. Krishna is singular, and we are within him. That's why Achintya Bheda Bhed. Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. Chetana means with consciousness. We are also conscious. Krishna is also conscious. What is the difference? We are conscious of the one body that we have. Krishna is supremely conscious of all the bodies and everything. In another place, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. So Kshetragya is a body. Kshetra is a body. Kshetra is a field of work, which is a body. Just like cultivator, he works on the field. He produces food, grains, result of tilling the field. Similarly, we also have this body. We are the owner of this particular body. In India also, for a temporary, right? The body is also belongs to Krishna. For some time, we are taking care of it. We have been given it so we can enjoy and whatever desires we wanted to. In India, of course, you have a small piece of land and each cultivator owns it and he produces his own fruit. Similarly, in our body, we produce a resultant action. We enjoy the result. So enjoying result means in this body, we have to bear the consequences, either enjoy or suffer. And if it's not possible in this body, the next life we get another body to continue the suffering or the enjoyment. So this is just a basic understanding which Srila Prabhupada gives us in relation to these verses. In 9.7, Krishna says, O son of Kunti, at the end of the millennium, all material manifestations enter into my nature, and at the beginning of another millennium, by my potency, I create them again. And then he says in 9.8, the whole cosmic order is under me. By my will, it is manifested again and again, and by my will, it is annihilated at the end. O Dhananjaya, all this work cannot bind me. So Krishna is trying to explain his, his relationship with the material world. I am detached, seated as though neutral. So these things are very important to understand. It tells us how Krishna is person. He's a person, and he has nothing to do with, the being appearing and becoming. He's a person like us. No, we need to understand how he is inconceivable. And that is the most confidential knowledge of understanding Krishna as a person, and he's explaining about himself. Lord Krishna's relationship with creation and destruction is what he's giving us. So he is telling us that the material world is the inferior energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. How Krishna's creation refutes the modern concept of evolution. People in the modern concept, there is a gradual evolution of species from another. Krishna's creation is all species are created with the universe at the beginning based on their different desires and past deeds, right? So when the whole annihilation takes place, then when creation takes place, it takes place on the basis of whatever karma and desires were there, and from that place, once more the whole cycle begins. So of course, the creation is such that it's so beautiful that when we start studying, it looks like that the evolution is taking place. But how are the souls being manifested? They enter the different bodies based on their past desires and their past karmas and their past inclinations of which mode they have been feeding. Sattvagun, Rajoguna, Tamogun. So these concepts need to be really understood deeply so that we understand the science of Krishna. How is the material world maintained if Krishna is Parameshwara, is aloof? So Krishna says that his supreme will is always present. Yet he says that there is no direct involvement. He himself does not create or destroy. It just it's just he has to just glance and the whole creation or destruction takes place. What is the basis of creation? Let's look at that. How is Krishna or Supreme Will always present? Everything is under the Supreme Will because he enters as three Vishnu forms into the Mahat Tattva to create. So we have seen this in our earlier classes also. And how is not directly involved? Because material nature, there is Maya, the Devi who acts as per the Lord's desire, which implies that Krishna has no direct involvement with the material nature. So there is something called material nature or Maya. She has been given the job and she's doing her job, and Krishna doesn't need to directly involve himself. All these karma and karma phalas and desires and all, it's just happening. And why? But we can't see it is without his will. It is of course happening by his will and his will alone. Krishna takes place, creation takes place to accommodate inclinations of desires of various living entities. So after the whole destruction takes place, then Krishna wants to give them one more chance, all the souls, so that he will once more the whole creation takes place, and all the souls get one more chance in this material world to strive to go to the spiritual world by the process of once more through the creation. That's an opportunity for us. This material nature is working under man. In 9.10, Krishna says, Maya Dyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam Hetu Nanena Kaunteya Jagat Viparivartate. So this material nature is working under my direction of son of Kunti. It's producing all moving, all unmoving objects. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again, just as we have seen. So let's look at quickly the 9.7, 7, 8, and 9 as per a lecture given in New York. Srila Prabhupada talks about how Prakriti means nature, how nature or Maya, as we just said, is dependent on the Supreme Lord. When Krishna desires, or when the time is right time, the time has come, Krishna gives us a chance. This Prakriti, this material cosmic manifestation, is meant for us, the conditioned souls. We are all conditioned souls. That's why, obviously we are in this material world, which is a hospital or a jail. It's for our treatment. So this manifestation is giving us a chance for what? So that we can try to return back home, back to Godhead, to the eternal Prakriti, to our eternal nature. That is the human manual or the human goal. Otherwise, it's Prakriti bhutve praliyate. Again and again, the day comes, hosts of beings become active, again night falls. So, as we have studied in chapter 18, now it's maintained and annihilated. So, Prakriti Vasat in 9.8, we can see Prakritim Swama Vashtabhya Visrujami Punah Punah Bhuta Gramam Imam Kritsnam Avasham Prakritir Vashat. So, what is Prakritir Vashat? It tells us that we are completely under the grip of the stringent laws of material nature, which is made up of the three gunas. Like ropes, we are tied by these gunas, and we are repeatedly put into the stringent laws. Every thought, every deed, everything has got consequences, and we are bound by that, by our karmas and vikarmas. So that we may, and why is all the suffering done? Repeated thing, birth and death and all these suffering is to remind us and to help us go back. So we have become so dull and accustomed by habit, because it's continuing for a long, long time. We are accustomed, Srila Prabhupada is explaining to us, that we don't take seriously that why we are dying, we are going to get a body again, why are we suffering these miseries? When these thoughts don't come and we don't open scriptures and we don't approach the Guru, we stay in ignorance. Especially in this age, people are, all of us are not very serious at all. We think that, oh, this is the process of life, and we have a life, and we just imagine that there is that you can have an life is eternal, no birth and death, and then just getting out of this material nature, how that is important, we forget to see that. So that to make us realize that he has created the temperate ephemeralness, which is around us. Nothing is ever permanent. So that, to just make us realize that this is not our where we belong. So now one may think such a huge manifestation of material world is created, annihilated, so the God must be concerned with it. But no, Krishna says, Nacha mam tani karmani nibadhananti dhananjaya. He says, my dear Arjuna, all this world is going on automatically. There's no concern about it. So it's just happening automatically. He only comes to yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati, to establish dharma, Krishna appears. Otherwise, everything is just happening automatically. So, here we can see in verse 10, 9.10, Maya dhakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetu nanena kaunteya jagat viparivartate. Like a big man, a rich man is there. He is dismantling big houses again, constructing another big skyscraper, or his agents are doing it. He has money, he's spending it, he's sitting nicely, he has no concern. It's not like he himself has to go and construct all those buildings and himself has to go and break some building. No, there are things, everything is happening. Similarly, Parasa Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate. This material nature and so many other agents they are. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that it's happening automatically. In Shweta Svatara Upanishad 6.8, Parasha Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriya Cha. The Supreme Lord has nothing to do with all these, circle of karma and life and death happening. It's not like he is not in his control, but nothing is equal to him or greater than him. He acts in different places by manifesting his parts and parcels. So he expands himself as the Paramatma inside our heart, inside every, little living entity, everything around us, every atom. So he has sent his parts and parcels expansions, which are all simultaneously differently situated by his unlimited variegated potencies. Again, that achintya, right? We have to see that idea. Each potency acts quite naturally in sequences. It just happens in sequence, result cause, providing him full knowledge, power, and pastimes. So in the Vedic literature, we understand that these things are so nicely being done, as if there's so many plans, so many engineers, so many scientists are working. The nature is made by the superior brain or supreme lord. So when you see a flower, how it's not like God has to come and paint every. If you sit and paint one flower, it takes hours to do as beautiful as one Krishna's little creation of this big universe. But it's not. Krishna is not doesn't have to do that. He's got power. So if you have to paint a picture, that's what here Srila Prabhupada explaining to us. So in nature's way, you see so many flowers, fruits, animals, everything is so beautiful. Foolish people, they think it's all being done automatically because they're not seeing that there's a brain. Krishna is that supreme brain, he is the power behind everything. And we think that, oh, it's not happening automatically. There is Krishna, he is there. It's just that he doesn't need to himself come and do everything. Just because we don't see it being done by him, we think that he's not there. So, how it is being done, we don't understand. It's a lack of knowledge. Why? We are less intelligent. So, we think it's automatically done, that no one is actually in charge of it. So that is what is being explained in the next verse. In the Vedic literature, it is said that we can't describe it by our words. We cannot even think of it by our mind. It is achintya, inconceivable. Right? So, because it is so inconceivable, they say it's void. But the ultimate cause cannot be void. The ultimate cause of the whole universe cannot be just a void. Do you think from void something comes out? Do you think that our body has come out of void? No, there's a father, there's a mother. How can you say that everything comes out of void? So people who so say that, Srila Prabhupada says that they are like asuras because they are less intelligent and demonic, who can't accept that there is someone who is all in control. So less intelligent persons, they become asuras because they cannot calculate or they cannot imagine that there can be someone of such superior, a supremely powerful person. And their brain is not giving them the provision to think of all these things. It's simply because they don't also have the grace of Krishna. It's a dull brain. But if you take the advice of great acharyas like Ramanujacharya, even Shankaracharya did say that there is God, although he brought in the monistic philosophy along with it. Lord Jesus Christ also, they say there is God. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has come before you. Bhagavad Gita is actually, this Bhagavad Gita which we are reading is also his representation. So we are speaking Bhagavad Gita now after 5,000 years of Krishna's disappearance, but because God is absolute, the words that we are reading is also Krishna himself because he's absolute. Whatever we are hearing just now, we must think that that is coming directly from Krishna. When we are reading the verses spoken by Krishna, it is actually coming from Krishna himself because he's absolute. So he says, Maya Dhakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Adhyaksha means Maya Dhakshena, in my superintendence. So under my superintendence, Prakriti, material nature, Suyate, producing. What is she producing? Chara, moving, just like we are moving, and the achara. So under Krishna's direction, this is all happening. So although he is not directly involved, he has so many expansions, it doesn't mean he's not in control. Just because we can't understand it doesn't mean everything is void. So we finished the section B with that. In section C, 9.11 to 15, we are going to see how the foolish people who think that Krishna is an ordinary human being possessing a temporary form, they are atheists and they are defeated in their endeavors. So they will have to simply keep coming back in circle of birth and death. And then who are the people who understand that? They are the Mahatmas. So we are going to see about Mahatmas and those who are demoniac. So avajananti ma moodha. They are foolish, fools. Manushin tanumashritam. They think that I have descended in you, that I am just Brahman, and then I take the human form. They don't know that I am also, I have a transcendental nature. That Param bhavam ajananto. Ajananto, they don't know. Mama bhuta maheshwaram, that I have supreme dominion over all that be. Krishna is the all powerful. They don't understand all that. They think that I have taken up the body, and I'm actually just energy, and I take up I take up a form. So that is not true. That's what he's saying. So Jananti is understanding, knowing that Lord Krishna is the truth. Vasudeva Sarvamiti, one who knows that. It leads him to liberation. And the second one is Ajananti. He doesn't know. He's ignorant. He will continue the cycle of birth and death because his ignorance will lead him to perform sins. Remember, we saw the cycle yesterday of how ignorance leads to the seed of sins, and then how the sins will lead to the different kinds of either it is manifest the reaction or unmanifest, which you have to face in the future births. So ignorance leads to a cycle of birth and death. What is avajana? This ajan that is ajanat. What is avajananti? Avajananti is not it's not knowing. It's knowing the wrong thing, misunderstanding Krishna, and that will actually lead to increased bondage, as described in 9.12, and greater suffering. So people who will, when you misunderstand Krishna, you will lead it leads to, it's because of envy, and it leads to greater sufferings. So 9.12 tells us that those who are thus bewildered and attracted by such kind of demoniac and atheistic views, in their deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, their culture of knowledge, everything becomes defeated. So this is kind of a warning. So what is the fate of a Duratma? Fate of those of out because of bewilderment of having avidya, they disrespect Krishna's form. For example, Hiranyakashipu, as we can see in this, they are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views, and so their hopes for fruitive action is completely destroyed. Now Krishna will talk about who is a Mahatma. Mahatmanas tumam partha daivim prakritimashritha bhajanti ananya manaso Nyatva bhutadim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls are under protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as a supreme personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So that is why they already know Krishna. Satatam kirtayantom. It's a very famous verse. सततं कीर्तयन्तो मां यतन्तश्च दृढव्रताः नमस्यन्तश्च मां भक्त्या नित्ययुक्ता उपासते. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, dridhavrataha, and then bowing down before me. They are namasyantasya mam bhaktya. How are they bowing? With devotion. And such great souls, nitya yukta upasate, they are perpetually, they are worshipping me. So I think Ravi Prabhu has posted the attendance link again. I request all of you, there are 10 more minutes for the class. Please share your attendance, those who are here. I think Anjali Mataji is already getting ready for travel, so she is not here. It's only Jalpa Mataji, Roma Mataji, and Prabhakar Prabhuji. Yeah, please mark your attendance. So we are coming to the next part, which is going to be, so we'll just look at 9.14 one more time to understand that how is a Mahatma. It's a description of a Mahatma. So we can see in this corner here, Srila Prabhupada's Guru. That is Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati. So Srila Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati is Srila Prabhupada's Guru. He is, a Mahatma. And then we have here Prahlad. He's surrounded by other snakes. He's, Hiranyakashipu does everything, but he's a Mahatma. So we have here Arjuna is also a Mahatma. So we have the devotee always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down, and they are great souls. So external activities of these are the external activities of the Mahatma. Internally, he's always in union with Krishna. He's always, joyful. Externally, he will be doing Satanta Kirtayanto Mam. He'll be constantly trying Nitya Yukta Upasate, Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya, and he's highly devoted all the time. So 9.15 tells us that others who engage. This is a very important word to note. What is Anye? Why does he say Anye? So it shows that it is inferior. You say this is a devotee and Anye. So then others. So we have to notice the words over here. So here in 9.15, Krishna says, Jnana yagnena chapyanye यजन्तो मामुपासते एकत्वेन पृथक्त्वेन बहुधा विश्वतो मुखम्. So other people, right, who are not Mahatmas, who are not pure devotees, they engage in sacrifice by cultivation of knowledge. They also worship the Supreme Lord as one without the second, as diverse in many, and in the universal form also. So in the lecture which Srila Prabhupada gives on December 2nd in New York in 1966, he says, to explain this verse, that those who are directly worshipping the Supreme Lord, right, that is Krishna, they have been described as Mahatma. And then he says Anye, there are others. What are the others? They cannot conceive the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly because they are simply less advanced. Therefore, they are Anye, others. Others, what do they worship? They worship the absolute truth in different ways. First class, second class, third class. Amongst others, these are the three classes. First class is a mode of goodness. Second class is the mode of passion. Third class is the mode of ignorance. So aham graho pasanam means taking himself as a supreme. The next upasana, next worship is ekatvena prithaktvena. So prithaktvena is like pantheism, having different gods. Just like there are persons who worship all the demigods. Their opinion is there are different forms of God. They're all equal. So any form we can worship. We shall be benefited. How you'll benefit it? You'll benefit it by getting more material desires fulfilled. Get more trapped in the same world. That's what you want. So we shall approach the highest perfection. So there's another section. But this can be adjusted that God is everywhere. So there's no denying because by his energy, he is everywhere. Just like we are his energy, living entities. We are superior energy of the Lord, as Krishna has said. But what is pantheism? So there are different processes. Sorry, where are we? Yeah. But these processes are all, they help us to transcend. Just like simply studying the sunshine is not complete, the sun. Similarly, there are different processes. You start by studying the sunshine. So Prithak Tvena and Vishvato Mukham means the universal form, and it is stated in the Shastras, like for example, the hills are the bones, the trees and grasses, like the hair of the Lord. The ocean is like the navel of the Lord, and there's a description of the highest planet, Swarga, Brahma Loka, which is also actually within the material world, the lowest planet Patala Loka, and they say that is like they're comparing the Brahma Loka is the head of the Lord. So this is like a universal form. This is not for a devotee. The devotee is not looking at this universal form. So but there are people who will prefer the universal form. They will say, oh, I see God everywhere, I am God, and then they'll say, I am also God. So there are different methods of appreciating God, but they're also accepted, but they are taken onto the line. They are better than those who are just animals who are not even accepting any God at all. At least they are the next step higher than that, instead of those who are simply eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. So, but those who have taken either of these, jnana, yajna, prithaktvena, different, vishwato mukham, so impersonalists, they prefer these different processes. And those who are personalists, the bhaktas, they want to directly worship the Lord Krishna because they are all transcendentalists. Here Bhagavad Gita, those who are directly worshipping Supreme Lord, they have been termed as Mahatma. And those who are doing other Anye, they are also having different processes. So they have not been given as much importance as the Bhakta or the devotee. So this becomes actually clear when you really look at the words and the meanings behind it. So if you accept the universal form, that's also a fact. It's not that it's not God, it's also the energy of the God. Therefore, one who takes manifestation of energy of the God is not mistaken, because nothing is actually beyond God. I am God, you are also God. Actually, you are only part of God because there's nothing beyond God. Aham graho pashanam. If you think everything is God, it's also true. Sarvam khalva idam brahma. Everything is. But Vaishnava, those who's a personalist, they look at the whole thing differently. Why? Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, Maya tatam idam sarvam jagad avyakta murtina. I am spread all over in my impersonal feature. Everything is resting on me. And then he says, but I am not there. Pashyame yogam aishwaram. And yet everything that is created rests on me. Behold my mystic opulence, although I'm maintainer, although I'm everywhere. So simultaneously one and different. So that's why Lord Chaitanya has given this beautiful concept, of achintya bhed philosophy. So in Bhagavad Gita 7.7 also we saw mattah parataram nanyat kinchit asi dhananjaya. There is no truth superior to me. Everything is resting on me like pearls on a string. So if you accept this simple Krishna consciousness, you will directly approach Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because unless you come to that point of Vasudeva Sarvamiti, you can't move forward. In Chaitanya Charitamrit, it is given Krishna ye bhajate say bada chatura. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrit Madhya Leela 19.1.51, 151, it said that if you take to Krishna consciousness seriously and perfectly after listening so much and understanding, you must be very, very intelligent. Only Chatura, very intelligent people can understand. So one who worships Krishna directly is very intelligent. Why? Because he does not go take such a roundabout way. He goes directly. If it's a fact that one has to come to this point, why not go immediately? Even if I don't understand, let me accept it. So why does he say some Mahatma Durlabha? Because most people will not accept that path. The spiritual path and to attain complete perfection is not very easy, especially in Kali Yuga. So actually, the intelligent person who knows his position, his constitutional position, relationship with Krishna, he will take directly to Krishna consciousness. And that is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and all scriptures. So you will not go for a roundabout way. So now we are coming to the section D. There is one more section alone. I think last section I'll have to do on next week along with the beginning of chapter 10 maybe. So 9.16 to 25 tells us about how Krishna is. Therefore, the conclusion automatically is that Krishna is the supreme object of worship. There are worshippers of universal form, worshippers of demigods, but even they are ultimately worshipping Krishna. That is what he is going to tell us in this coming verses. He says, Aham, in 9.16, Krishna is saying, Aham krarturaham yajnyaha swadhaham mahamaushadham mantroham mahame vajam aham agniraham hutam. So he says, even those who are doing these fruital sacrifices and following the Vedic rituals, he says, I am the ritual, I am the sacrifice, I am the offering to ancestors, I am the healing work. Krishna is saying that Krishna is a transcendental chant, Krishna is a butter, Krishna is a fire, Krishna is offering, Krishna is everything, even when we are doing the different fruitive activities, fruitive rituals like yajnas. All that is also, he says, is Krishna only. Again, पिताहमस्यो जगतो माता धाता पितामह वेद्यम पवित्रम ओमकार ऋक् साम यजुर. Even yajurevacha. So even the Vedas, even the omkara, all those who are concentrating on the energy, all that also is Krishna. He says, I am the father, I am the mother, I am the support, I am the grandsire, I am the object of knowledge. So Krishna is saying that Krishna is father of the universe, Krishna is a mother, Krishna is a support, Krishna is a grandsire, Krishna is the object of knowledge. Krishna is a purifier. Krishna is a syllable Om. And Krishna is also the Vedas, Rik, Sama, Yajur, Veda. All that is Krishna only. So seeing everything is a manifestation of Lord Krishna, and Krishna is as all the relationships, father, mother, support, as we can see down here, Dhata, he is the maintainer, the creator, supporter, purifier, and he is the Omkara as well. Krishna is also the Omkara in the hymns and also the Vedas. So this is what we can see. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy under the creation of the Prakriti. Some of them appear as our father, our mother, grandfather and all, but actually all are parts and parcels of Krishna, who is our original father, mother, everything. So Krishna tells us in 18 and 19 that Krishna is our goal, sustainer, master, witness, abode, refuge, most dear friend. And he says that Krishna is the creation, annihilation, the basis of everything, the resting place, the eternal seed. He is a seed-giving father for all of us. Krishna says that he controls the heat, Krishna controls the rain, Krishna controls the drought. Remember, he also said not directly, and he says that Krishna is immortality, Krishna is also death personified, and both being and non-being are in Krishna. So these are the really Achintya Bheda Ved and Aishwarya Jnana, very difficult to understand. Those who study the Vedas and drink the Soma juice and they want to go to heavenly planets, they will worship Krishna indirectly. Even when they are worshipping demigods, they are actually worshipping Krishna because they all get their energy from Krishna. They are in Krishna. So, but what happens? Because they're going by the indirect way, they will be seeking heavenly planets. So they will go to the planet of Indra or the other heavenly planets. They will enjoy that, and then, like a roller coaster ride, they will come straight down back when they have finished their pious punya that they have accumulated. So when they have enjoyed heavenly sense pleasure, they will return to the mortal planet. Thus, through Vedic principles, they achieve only flickering. Again, they have to struggle to go up, up, up. So, do you want to be in this cycle? We have to make a choice. When we know this, when we get this knowledge, it's time to make a choice. Krishna tells us about the results of demigod worship, which is karma kanda. Actually, when we do that, we are worshipping Krishna only, just indirectly. We are performing yajna to get swarga, then they acquire enough credits, they go to demigod planets, and then they enjoy lots of pleasure, and then they come back. So Krishna, now next verse is very important. It's time, so I think I'll end with this session. Ananya Shintayanto Mam Ye Jana Pariyupasate Tesham Nityabhiyuktanam Yogakshevam Vahamyaham. So those who worship me with devotion and meditate on Krishna's transcendental form, to them Krishna will carry what they lack and preserve what they have. So there is Arjunacharya story in which what happens is Arjunacharya once read this and he says, why should Krishna come directly and carry what people lack? Why should Krishna come directly and preserve what they have? And he said, and he finds that something is, Krishna doesn't need to come. He has so many people to do everything for him, and then he makes a small mark on that verse. And then later on, when he goes to take a bath and he goes to collect, they have to beg at that time. Those who are brahmanas, they used to not cook on they used to not earn. They had to beg for their living. And the purpose of begging is not simply to beg, but it is also to spread the knowledge to the different householders. So what happened is, when he went off for that purpose, two little boys came and his wife was there. There was no food at home that day. The Ajnacharya had gone late to collect the food, and so there was nothing at home, and she was like, there is nothing. And two boys come and bring lots of things for whatever is needed in the kitchen. They bring everything, and then when they bring the mother, she asks, the wife asks, who sent you here, why are you, they say Arjunacharya sent us here. And then she notices that in the back they have a mark, like a scar. Oh my god, who made this scar on you? So then they said, your husband only did this to us. And then she gets very upset. How come my husband can do such a cruel thing to these children? And then when he comes back and children go away, Arjunacharya comes back. She asks, she questions him, why do you do this to children? And then Arjunacharya realized, when she describes that one was fair, one was dark, and one was wearing the yellow, pitambar vastra, and one was wearing the Neelambar Vastra. So then, then they realized that they were actually none other than Krishna and Krishna's own expansion, Balrama. So that becomes, the wife also starts crying, oh my God, the gods, Krishna and Balram themselves came and I couldn't even recognize them. And Arjunacharya says, you got an opportunity to see them and I didn't even get an opportunity to see them. And they sit and cry and they realize that, this is a difficult concept to understand. Krishna is, of course, neutral, but for a devotee, he comes, he will carry what they lack and he preserve what they have. And also the deeper meaning of this is not that Krishna is going to give you material things which you don't have. Krishna actually looks at the person, the soul that you are. And what is it that you lack to move on a spiritual journey? He will give you that. Whatever you lack, he will give you, and what you have, he will maintain that, because he wants you to progress on your spiritual journey. So I think from 9.23 onwards, I'll do next class, because it's time also. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you, Prabhakar Prabhu and Roma Mataji, for staying with me.
I wanted to ask a question, ma'am.
Yes, Roma Mataji.
What happens to all the soul when the material nature is annihilated? Does it go to Vaikuntha and again come back? when it
Not
is
Vaikuntha,
manifested
they
again?
all enter into the body of Vishnu. So whenever there is an annihilation, the whole the kalpa is over, or everything enters into the body as if in hibernation. And wherever they have stopped at that point of time, because we have not obviously reached the spiritual world, so we have to once more go, and it's like sleeping. Krishna is like in the Vishnu form is like, enough is enough, you haven't escaped now. So all of you will again, he rests. There's a resting period, one kalpa of action, one kalpa of sleep. And at that period, everything is just in dormant situation. So today I was listening to a lecture. If you get a chance, you should listen to that beautiful lecture by, I think, Radhana Swami Prabhu. I don't remember his name exactly. You must be knowing his name, no? Today I heard a lecture, where he was talking about Gajendra Moksha, and he was saying that we are all actually being, bitten. We are all in the jaws of the crocodile. We just don't see it. We think it's all very happy, and we keep thinking that happiness is coming. But we're all in the jaws as long as you're in the material world. Even when we are in that dormant state, when the whole world, is in the assimilation state, we are in the body of Vishnu in the dormant state, and even then we are in the jaws of material nature still. And then when it is time, the kalpa is over, when Krishna will, again, Vishnu in the form of Krishna's expansion, Vishnu, he just glances and the whole creation comes up again, and all the souls start off exactly where they had left off. So whatever was the position of karma or their desires, everything based on that, they will be again, get their bodies, and for one whole kalpa, they get the opportunity to realize that this is only material, this is only temporary, and Krishna gives them one more chance to work their way back to the spiritual world. So today only I had heard that lecture. If you're interested, I'll post it in the group if I find that lecture. So that's
Yes,
what
sure,
happens in
sure. Please do
annihilation and
post.
creation, Mataji. We just have to start all over again. Krishna gives us the opportunity when the creation happens to once more try to understand Krishna.
Okay. Thank you, Mataji. Very much clear.
Thank you, Mataji, for the question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Ravi Prabhu, Roma Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.